Today I'm going to make a video showing you how I buffer my NAD+. This particular batch of NAD had a really low pH level of around 3, which is extremely acidic, and was a nice surprise when I first administered it. So we've got our peptide here, we've got our backwater, we've got our buffer, which is going to be sodium bicarbonate. This has a pH level of 7 to 8.5, so this is what you would call a base buffer. We have our alcohol prep pads, we have our pH strips, and we have our syringes that we're going to need. All right, first off, let's get everything opened and wiped down. Okay, normally with this NAD, I would add 10 milliliters of backwater since this is 1,000 milligram. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to add about 8 milliliters of backwater and leave myself 2 milliliters of space just in case I need it with the buffer. If I don't need that full 2 milliliters, then I could just top it off with some backwater. Now I have buffered this NAD a few times, so I already have an idea of how much buffer it's going to need, but we'll kind of go through it and almost simulate that I don't really know for certain, and just kind of like fill in the gaps with some advice for you guys if it's your first time or if you're not sure. So we'll go ahead and this is a 3 milliliter syringe, so we're gonna have to do this a few times. So I'll do 3, 3, and then 2. And then we'll just kind of try to keep track along the way of how much total solution we've added, including the buffer. If you need to take notes while you do it, that's perfectly fine. I may kind of speed up some of the sections of this video just to kind of trim it down and respect everybody's time. But anything useful I'll try to include. This is our second 3 milliliters, so this will put us at 6. Now this one will only do 2, just because I know that I'm gonna need about 2 milliliters of buffer for this, which is a lot. That just goes to show how acidic this NAD is. Okay, this should put us right at 8. Okay, we'll cap this for now. Now, I'll probably cut the video and I'm just gonna reconstitute this fully till it's nice and clear. And then when we come back, we'll start testing the pH and I'll kind of show you how that works with these pH strips. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We are fully reconstituted now, and I will show you how I test the pH with the strips. So all we really need to do is just get like maybe a unit of peptide in this syringe, and then we'll drip it on one of these little pH testing strips that I've already torn off. And then it will change colors, and we just compare it to this key, and this key will show us the pH level, an approximate pH level. And if this one is consistent with all the other ones in this batch, it will come out to be about 3 pH. All right, we don't need much at all. So I'll try to drip it on there without touching it. Okay, as you can see, that turned red really quick. So just give it like a second, just make sure it's kind of done finding the shade that it's gonna find. You open this up and you kind of hover it over those different color blocks. And as we can see, it's really close to here. So maybe it's like 3, 3.5, 4, which is pretty low. That's about the acidity that you're gonna get in like a 0.6% acetic acid solution, which is pretty acidic. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to take our sodium bicarbonate and we're gonna start adding some to it. Now I know that this one's gonna take me about 2 milliliters to get it up to around 6 pH, which is usually my target. 6 pH is not too uncomfortable. It's a perfect pH level to avoid kind of that burning sensation. Go a little bit past it so we can push out all the air. If you were doing this for the first time and you weren't sure how much you were gonna have to add, I usually recommend adding about 10 to 20 units at a time and then retesting. But with this solution, since this is probably my 4th vial out of this batch that I've reconstituted and buffered, I already know that it's going to take quite a bit, so I'm going to put 1 full milliliter in here. Like I said, when you do it, I probably wouldn't do more than 20 units that first time, just to kind of be safe. Because I have had some in the past where I thought I was only putting a little bit in there, and then all of a sudden I checked the pH and it's way up around 7. Okay, let's hold it right there. Pull a little bit of air there. All right, let's mix this around a little bit. And one thing about the sodium bicarbonate is it does kind of create a carbonation reaction when it first goes in, and that can kind of build up some pressure inside of this vial. With this one, I left the vacuum kind of still intact, so it'll help with that a little bit. But you can start to, there's like a little bit of bubbles in there. I don't know if you can really tell on the camera, but that's from the sodium bicarbonate, and it'll start releasing some of those gases and potentially build up some pressure. Okay, that's probably nice and mixed in. We will now take our insulin syringe one more time. And we'll kind of, when we start to draw into the syringe, we'll work it back and forth just a little bit. See how it's like now it's pushing air out? I'm gonna go ahead and let it do that for a second, and then actually let me go ahead and just pop this plunger out to let it vent itself as much as it wants. Sometimes when I do this, I actually use a vent needle just to avoid having to deal with this, but I didn't want to make this too confusing. All right, let me get my plunger back in there. Get in there. There we go. All right. Again, we're only going to grab just a little bit. Okay. We don't need this anymore. We'll set that aside. We'll get our new pH level, our pH strip, I mean. And we will drip it on there. Okay, perfect. And you can see that it's not nearly as red as the old one was. Here, I'll hold them up side by side. You can see it's got a much more orange color to it. So now when we go to our key, we open this up. Now we're much closer. We're in between that 5 and 6. Which actually surprises me. This one's doing a lot better than the first few that I've done. So we're actually almost at a 6 already. So I may not even actually add that full milliliter of that I've already pulled into my syringe. Let's see how we do. Maybe I can get away with only half. Push about a half in there, which, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and like pull some air out just to kind of leave room for that reaction to expand. So now let's thoroughly mix that. Just give it a minute. It's probably building up some pressure in there anyways, but that's okay. Okay, we should be good there. Let's see. There we see it pushing out pretty good. Let's go ahead and let it do its thing real quick again. All right, it's kind of a pain, but okay, now that that's done, let me get my plunger back in. We're just gonna pull a little bit. I'm gonna work it back and forth just to clear out any of that older solution that might have been trapped in the needle. Nothing crazy, just a little back and forth. Okay, we've got a little bit now. We'll take our last strip here and we will drip some on it. Give that a second. We can see this time that we're right about 6. It's kind of hard for me to tell. I'm a little colorblind, but we're looking really close to 6 in my opinion, which is about what I shoot for. So I'm gonna call that good. And now I know I need to, if I remember correctly, I only put 1.5 milliliters of the sodium bicarbonate in here. So now I need to put another half of the backwater to get that 10 total units of solution. So I'm actually gonna squirt this out off camera real quick and then come back and put in the backwater. All right, we're back. So now I will grab a little bit more backwater, just 0.5 milliliter, just to keep my math simple. And we should be good. I'm sure this is gonna have a bunch of pressure again. All right, we are done. Let me know if you have any questions.